Here, well, what can we do?
You said you were thinking about doing things next year. You got some applause out there. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I've been pretty upfront about that. I mean, we're looking at it, and we'll end up making the decision here in the next few months.
Senator, you're from Pennsylvania, where hydrofracking has led to increased natural gas development. The governor here has decided not to go forward with that. What do you make of that decision?
Well, we're very grateful in Pennsylvania that you're not, because it's better for us that we have with a lot of. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's been a great boom to the northern tier of our state. That area of the state, which I know very, very well. I spent a lot of time up there. You know, our soils are not good there. The climate is not optimal for farming, and which is what most of it. Because of a lot of other things, other resource opportunities like timbering and others have been limited by the government, and so a lot of these people, a lot of folks living in this area of the state, were really living pretty hard-scrabble lives, and that is just. It's transformed that entire region into one where people can really thrive and prosper, and communities are rebuilding, and towns are bustling. Small town America is alive and well in those areas. So it's made a huge difference for us in Pennsylvania. It's just disappointing to see that you can't look across the border and see the benefits and make that available to the people who are similarly situated in New York.
Senator, you said, talked about fighting against upstream against popular culture and wanting the church to lead the charge. Is there something specific that you're, in terms of laws, or something that you're proposing to change or do? Or, I mean, because you're kind of general, so I'm just trying to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, there's clearly some things the state can and should do with respect to protecting people's religious liberty. I mean, you've seen a case here in New York State just where someone is being threatened because of their unwillingness to have their farm be used in a marriage ceremony that they don't biblically agree with. And you shouldn't lose your religious liberty because you enter into business. You should treat everybody respectfully, fairly, everybody with dignity. But that doesn't mean you need to participate in activities that you don't believe in. And there's a difference between treating someone with respect and dignity, and then the next step, which is being forced to participate in an event or that is against your religious teachings. And I think, unfortunately, those things get muddled, that you're somehow discriminating against the person. No, you're saying that the government shouldn't force you to participate in something that is against your religious tenets and teachings, which is another religious ceremony that's contrary to yours. I mean, that's sort of a basic, and I think it's sad that when there are plenty of other opportunities, other places for people to do that you're now using the very strong arm of the government to force people to either lose their business or violate their religious beliefs.
So does that mean like a pavilion hosting or not hosting a gay marriage, for example, or does it also, you're talking about a business providing coverage for birth control? Is those sorts of things?
Look, would we have the government say that a Jewish printer would have to print signs for the KKK? Would we require that? Because what you're saying is, I mean, I don't support what's it called, the Westboro Baptist Church, but would a gay print shop have to print "God hates fags"? I would think not. I would hope not. I would hope that that's not what the government's going to force people to do. There are plenty of other printers. There's plenty of places to do that. You shouldn't force someone who has religious or not even religious. They could be conscience belief. This is protection of conscience. I mean, this issue of tolerance goes both ways, and what we're seeing is that it's not anymore, and that's what should be concerning. I mean, you may be someone who supports, all of the things that I talked about, but you also have to be tolerant of other people's beliefs, and even though you may not find them desirable or legitimate, the whole idea of how America works best is everybody's allowed in. Everybody's allowed to make their case. Everybody's allowed to live their life and there, and we have to tolerate what we disagree with, and that's what's, I think, well, I know because I talk to a lot of people. That's what's concerning people right now is we're losing that tolerance.
How do you think Hillary Clinton's going to do as a candidate for president? You've been out there, you know what it's like. You know,
I haven't seen her out there, so I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can look how she did the last time.
Which was?
Well, she didn't win, so we'll see how she does.
What about Andrew Cuomo? Do you think there's any chance that he could become president or run for president?
I think Governor Cuomo's got his hands full here in New York.
Senator, the Supreme Court's going to deal with another Obamacare case this time. We're about 2 years into Obamacare. What are your thoughts on the whole process now?
Well, I mean, there's pretty clear what the language of the bill said, and it's pretty clear what the legislative language behind it. I mean, if you look at the legislative record, it's pretty clear that they put that language in there to, quote, force states to adopt these, to do state exchanges. And so it would be hard for me to have the court just, again, from the standpoint of what the court should be able to do in interpreting legislative statute, to see something as clear as this is, as to what the legislative intent as well as the plain meaning of the statute, to say, well, because it's causing a problem, we're going to change it. I mean, that's it's not what the court's allowed to do. And the court has to begin to start thinking about deciding cases before them instead of deciding what the law should be. And so I'm hopeful that they will decide the case before them. I'm hopeful at that point that the Congress will act. I think the Congress needs to do something to address this situation because we have a Obamacare in place which dramatically increases the cost of insurance. I mean, in some cases double the cost of insurance that people had before. And the only reason that it's been able to in some ways work is because of these huge subsidies that have been put in place to underwrite that cost. If you remove that underwriting, which this would do for 30-some states, then you're going to have a huge spike in the number of uninsured because people won't be able to afford their premiums. So somewhere or another, Congress has to address it with either removing some of the regulatory burdens on plans so we can offer more low-cost plans. Whatever it is, Congress has to act, and I would suggest that they should act now, begin to move this process forward, begin to have hearings on it, because I think it's likely that the change is coming.
Senator, what did you make of Romney's decision not to run again? Do you think that was a smart move, and what do you think in general about the Republican field so far?
I think I don't know what went through Governor Romney's mind. All I can say is that he was a very tough adversary, and ran a very tough campaign against us in 2012. And I have no doubt that he could do it again in 2016. The field in 2016, it's early. One of the things I learned in 2012 is a lot of people who say they're going to run don't run. A lot of people who look like they're surefire, sure things don't end up to be so surefire. And it's a rigorous process. It's a difficult process. It's unlike anything else you've ever done in politics. One of the reasons that folks who've run before end up doing okay the next time, not all of them, but many of them do, is because going through that experience is actually a pretty good thing to do if you want to be president. So we'll see. We'll see how people weather the storm. I think you've already seen candidates rise and fall, and my guess is you'll see more rise and fall, because that's the nature. It's a tough business.
Senator, you said earlier that you were going to make a decision on your possible candidacy by June. What do you need to see between now and June that will convince you it's a good time to run?
Well, obviously, you need to have the nuts and bolts and the wood to build the structure, right? And so, for me, that means a strong organization and resources to be able to fund that organization. We've always run, every campaign I've ever run has been lean and mean. I'm not a big infrastructure guy. I don't travel with an entourage. I try to make myself available like I do. I suspect you don't get opportunities like this with many presidential candidates or folks who want to, and I think it's important to be out there and test your message and see what kind of response you get. And so that's the process we're going through right now. We're testing the message, We're seeing what kind of support we're going to get on a volunteer basis, on how many people are going to sign up here today for Patriot Voices, and whether they're interested in helping us out. So all of that is just measuring what kind of support there is for the things that I'm talking about, and that's what Patriot Voices does. It measures, are these values that you support and you want to be part of, and whether they end up helping us in the presidential, that we have to make that decision first. But Patriot Voice is really a barometer for us to see whether the message is resonating or not. Okay,
Thank you.